Too often, history's been described as great men doing big things. What if I told you that the biggest influence on Scottish history was a woman? In fact, a Saxon woman, a nun no less, who but for her fate would have been forgotten in obscurity. If you're interested in the people, places and events in Scottish history, then click the subscribe button at the bottom right of the screen and ring the notification bell to make sure that you know when I upload new videos. In the meantime, let me tell you a story. Do you remember the sound of music? How do we solve a problem like Maria? It starts with a difficult nun. She lost her parents as a child. She was now a young, vivacious sister in a nunnery who left her mother superior frustrated with her somewhat rebellious novice who didn't quite fit in. Eventually, Maria leaves the convent for a new life with a handsome military gentleman. I want to tell you about a woman whose life had some parallels, but this was a life that framed future Scottish, indeed British, history. Our nun was born as Edith, although later in life she'd been known as Matilda. Some say she entered the convent at the age of 6, although as I'll explain later, she may have been there since just after birth. Either way, she hasn't seen her parents for years. Why did they allow her to go to the convent? They might have wanted her to get an education, or maybe there were other motivations that we'll come to. She did have another family member in the convent. That was her Aunt Christina. Auntie arrived at the convent when Edith was 6. That's why some folks think that Edith arrived at the same time. It seems she was clever and got a high-class education that her parents would have wanted, learning English, French and Latin so that she could read the Bible and the works of the saints and the theologians. But she also learned finance and geometry. Most girls didn't get to do that, but Edith was special. It seems that the big problem came with boys, and the fact that nuns who took the veil didn't get to fraternise with them. It created tension between Edith and her aunt. Apparently, Auntie Christina forced her to wear her nun's veil under threat of physical punishment. Edith would take it off when she could. One time, she even took it off permanently and ran away from the convent. When she was 13 and approaching the time when 11th century girls might be married, her dad came along to visit her. He was furious when he saw her veiled as a nun. We're told that he was so angry that he tore the veil off, ripped it to pieces and trampled it to the ground, saying that he'd rather she married a man beneath her station than be consigned to the life of a nun. That's interesting, because her mum had been preparing to be a nun when Daddy persuaded her to forget the convent and marry him instead. Aunt Christina explained that she'd only kept young Edith veiled because of her age. It would protect her from the lust of noblemen who might visit the convent. Either way, this was the last time Edith saw her father, and her aunt's decision may have changed Scotland's history. So who was this Saxon nun? Well, she was born here in Dunfermline. Now, I've said before that this is probably the most important historical site in Scotland, and I'll leave a link to the video when I mentioned that. But Edith was born in 1080, before this building was erected, but 10 years after the original priory was built in this place. And this will be one of the places that I'll be visiting on my 60th birthday tour. Next year, I'll be 60, and to celebrate, I'm taking 25 folks on an 11-day tour of Scotland's beautiful and historic places. I'll take you down to Hadrian's Wall, up to the Isle of Skye, and to some of my favourite places in between, with stories along the way. You'll meet the real descendant of Robert the Bruce. I'll put on a Saturday night Scottish comedy show, and it'll all end with my birthday celebration in Cayley on the last night. If you want to be added to the list for the limited tickets to Bruce's 60th birthday tour of Scotland, then click top right or the link in the description below, or email alexis@scotlandhistorytours.co.uk. If you want the scholarly version of what I'm about to say with all its caveats and alternative possibilities, you've come to the wrong place. But Neil McGuigan's book about Edith's father, Malcolm Canmore's great. I'm going to do it my way. As the eldest daughter of Malcolm, the Gaelic-speaking King of Scots who'd killed Macbeth to take the throne, and the saintly Margaret, Princess of the Saxon English royal house, recently ousted by William the Conqueror, Edith was important from the time that she was born. During the 11th century, Scots had been extending their influence over Northumbria from the north. And of course in the south, well, 1066 had brought William the Conqueror and his pal Norman. Two expansionist kings butted up against each other. Malcolm had mounted a raid in Northumbria in 1079, and that's why William the Conqueror sent up a force with his son Robert Curthose a year later. The two sides met at Falkirk. Promises were made, territories were defined, hostages exchanged, and peace agreed. But here's the thing. That same Robert Curthose is recorded as the godfather of our wee girl Edith, born around the same time. Our godmother, Matilda of Flanders, was the wife of William the Conqueror. Now there's a wee story about that written later, and it tells how during the baptism, baby Edith pulled her godmother's headdress, and when it fell on her own head, somebody quipped that it was an omen that the baby herself would be Queen of England one day. Oh, how we laughed. Here's the point. The Queen of England may have come up to Scotland with Robert Curthose in the English army, but a more likely explanation for this godmother and Edith's later name change is that our baby girl was one of the hostages exchanged. She left Scotland and was baptised in England, where she grew up for the first 6 years. That was before going to the convent in Romsey Abbey to be educated. That last visit by her father that I described earlier was in 1093 in Wilton Abbey. If you want to know why it was the last visit, then you're in luck, okay? He came all the way down to England for a very good reason, and I tell you about it in my video about the death of Malcolm Canmore. There'll be a link. You'll remember that Auntie Christina had got Edith to wear the veil because at 13 she was approaching marriageable age, and there were horny men sniffing about. One was William Rufus, the second son of William the Conqueror and the current King of England. It was him who decided that Edith should marry a guy called Alan Rufus, a noble, but not a royal. That was a guy of whom her dad Malcolm had said that he'd rather that Matilda marry him than be stuck in a nunnery. Translation: when a Scotsman says he'd rather his daughter married a Norman toff than stay in a nunnery, that doesn't mean he wants her to marry the Norman toff. As it happens, within a month or two, King Malcolm's dead, and so is his wife, Margaret. Remember that video? When Malcolm dies, it turns out the Norman toff isn't interested in Matilda anymore. Oh, when she was the daughter of the King of Scots and the Saxon princess, you were interested then. Now that her uncle's running Scotland, you're off with some other bint. Anyway, Matilda gets the last laugh, because within months of being dumped by this English tosser...
Bruce, don't you mean toff?
What?
Earlier you said he was a Norman toff, then you said he was an English tosser.
I know. I'm bilingual. The point is, that he was dead. I tell you who else was soon dead. William Rufus himself, the Norman king who'd fobbed our Edith off with a tossy English Norman toff in the first place. He'd been out on a hunting trip with one of his courtiers who was a crack shot with a bow and arrow, and he aimed at a stag but shot the king through the lungs instead. Then he jumped on a horse and headed for France. The obvious thing might be the return from Normandy of the king's younger brother Robert Curthose. Remember Edith's baptism? But before you could say, hold on, that's my crown you're wearing, the even younger brother Henry declares himself king and then has a whirlwind romance with Edith. Oh, he just swept me off my feet. I looked into his eyes and it was just dynastic opportunity at first sight. The hunting accident was on the 2nd of August in the New Forest. The marriage was on the 11th of November in Westminster Abbey. They had bells. So the prophetic omen from our baptism is fulfilled. And taking the name of our godmother, she calls herself Matilda. The new Norman King of England marries the daughter of a Celtic Scottish king and Anglo-Saxon princess. It's the dream marriage. Apart from the fact that Edith, now Matilda, was supposed to be a nun. She had worn the veil. Or had she? She'd certainly grown up in a convent. Was it for education or had she become a nun? When she wore the veil, was it just to keep men off or had she actually taken vows? Her dad hadn't consented to her becoming a nun. In fact, could she have made the choice herself? Did her aunt persuade her? Why did she run away from the convent? There's no trace of her ever going back, even though she was ordered to. Is she a newly crowned devout secular queen? Or is she a harlot nun who's reneged on her vows and whose children will be the illegitimate spawn of the devil? She is an ancestor of the current royal family after all. There'll have to be an inquiry. The inquiry is carried out by Anselm, the Archbishop of Canterbury. He interviewed Matilda, and it's from this interview that we get her side of the story. Her aunt's protective skullduggery, her dad's wrath at the nunnery, her own throwing off of the veil when Auntie wasn't watching. Anselm decided that everything was above board. She wasn't a nun. She could be queen, and her children would be illegitimate. In spite of the fact that in 1093, when she ran away from the convent at Wilton, he himself had written to the Bishop of Salisbury ordering that the daughter of the late King of Scots be returned to the monastery that she had left. So when Anselm carried out his inquiry, you just know that somebody didn't hand in their WhatsApp messages. Either way, the door was open for Matilda to be one of the most successful queens in English history. She filled in for Henry as regent and a number of times when Henry was off in Normandy. She built churches, she built bridges and causeways, she founded leper hospitals, she gave to the poor and washed their feet. But what matters to us, of course, is that she looked after our little brother. Our youngest brother, David, the baby of the family, who had no role, responsibility, land or title. In fact, when he was at the court in London, he was just known as the brother of the Queen. She had coattails and he clung to them. Gradually, the brother of the Queen was nurtured and became the right-hand man of the king, who gave him lands in Normandy. That's where David met one of the tenant knights on his Norman lands who was called Robert. The place was called Breeks. And of course, we call his 4 times great grandson Robert the Bruce. It was David's big sister and her husband who put pressure on David's elder brother Alexander I to give him lands in the south of Scotland, and maybe got David himself to the throne. I've got a whole playlist of videos about David that you'll find if you click top right. He became one of the most transformational kings in Scottish histories, who as much as any other king created the Scottish state, who introduced boroughs and towns and agricultural development, who extended Scotland's influence further south than any other monarch, and of course, who built this place, as well as many other monasteries and abbeys. But this video isn't about David, it's about his big sister. I suppose David was one of those great men doing big things in Scottish history. But let's not forget that everything he did was based on the foundation built by his big sister, that Saxon nun born here who changed Scottish history. The playlist of videos about David I is coming up on screen. Support the channel by clicking top right to become a Patreon member. You'll get some background information that I didn't have time to include in this video. Alternatively, buy me a coffee in the description below. Ha mi an dóchas go be lam ai. Sherry and Rasta.